Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who has helped me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Kevin Brewer, a 20-year veteran of Navy intelligence, who discusses with us the life travails he experienced through misdiagnoses of his bodily function, which he learned in hindsight through trial and error, was caused through nutrition, things he was eating. He went through many years of his life experiencing pain in different anomalies that he had to work through, and to his credit, he worked through it, trial and error, to determine just what it was that his body was reacting to, the foods, and he modified his diet accordingly. Marty, it's a great story of resilience, but just working through whatever needs to be worked through. What are some takeaways our listeners can gain from Kevin?
Kevin showed us his perseverance. He was not going to give up on, okay, this is what it is, I'll live with this. He didn't, and he found ways to improve his health.
Resilience is, I think, a byline that we can all live by, that through perseverance, resilience, he was able to determine exactly what it was. After discovering the nutritional aspects of his life, he became a Spartan athlete. Let's listen and learn together. Kevin, it's good to have you with us. Our listeners are going to be very interested in learning about your life experiences, primarily some medical misdiagnoses that you have had to endure for some number of years, and you made it through that and became a Spartan athlete. But our listeners are going to be very interested in how you possibly had to overcome whatever mental trauma you may have been experiencing at the time. And our listeners are very interested in knowing just how you did that so that they can learn from that, because our listeners, any number of which could be experiencing some sort of mental trauma, much like you had. Kevin, good to have you with us.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Kevin, you want to give our listeners just maybe a kind of a brief overview. I sometimes use the term maybe a 40,000-foot overview of what were the medical diagnoses that you had, and don't be any more personal than what you want to, but just kind of give our listeners a brief overview so they can identify with the travails that you had to experience.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff I was born with psoriasis, so I always kind of had some like skin issues and things like that. And I have like Tourette's and things. So I have like tics and things. So I've always kind of dealt with that. But when I was in the military, it ended up kind of progressively getting worse, things like that. My psoriasis got worse. I started getting GERD. thing, all kind of like digestive issues. Was getting treated for that stuff. And then on my way back from Afghanistan, or I should say, when I was in Afghanistan, I had a massive sinus infection that my whole left side was completely clogged and my right side was half full, all infection that just wasn't treated properly. So when I came back, I basically overdosed myself on like Sudafed unintentionally. I didn't know you could do that. But I was taking like the nasal sprays and effectively give myself an overdose. And and then when I got back, things just kind of started falling apart from there. Um, I started having like a lot of heart rate issues, and just pain everywhere. And it just spiked, my heart rate would just spike like I was having a heart attack. And being, 20s at the time, just kind of really dismissed entirely by doctors. And because I was returning from Afghanistan, everybody just assumed it was just PTSD. So I really just got dismissed over and over and over again because they're like, gosh, it's PTSD. Everything's happened after you got back from Afghanistan. Um, so really kind of things that happened from there is, again, my heart rate would just spike out of nowhere. It'd just go up to like 160 and stay, and I would just be sitting still, doing nothing. I had a pain in my chest. I go up my neck and down my arm, pain in my back, just all kinds of like just really weird things. And then over the years, it progressed to just start getting more and more neurological issues. Different parts of my body would start hurting. So like my hamstring would just randomly start hurting, and my hip flexor would get tight. So then I'd have like a lot of pain in like the lower left hip area, and I just couldn't sit. Um, I just couldn't look up after a while. Just looking up basically would make me paralyzed. So again, just really degrading neurological issues that just kept going everywhere around my body. And I saw probably 50 to 100 doctors over 13 years trying to figure it out. And really, they all just dismissed me for the most part. Most of them dismissed me. Only about probably five or so actually gave a crap. But I just never gave up. A lot of them, was just skin. It was diagnosed as anxiety or PTSD or things like that. And it's like, no, I agree that there are some anxiety issues to that. I'd have like daily multiple panic attacks a day, because again, you're having effectively heart attack symptoms and stroke symptoms every single day, all day, no matter what you do. I would assume everybody would have a little bit of anxiety over that. So I just would keep going back, and because I'd go back, they'd be like, "Well, see, you're anxious about it." I'm like, "Well, of course, because you haven't figured out what's going on." So they would just want to give you a bunch of pills and pills and pills, and it's like I would try them for a little bit, and then just realize, hey, it's not working. So I would just stop taking them, and they'd be like, "Well, you're just because you're not taking the pills." I'm like, "The pills are causing other problems, but you still haven't figured out what the problem is. So why don't we actually figure that part out first?" So I ended up having to figure it out myself. Found a doctor. Is outside of insurance, got paid my out of pocket for some stem cell therapies, and got it all figured out. So we can get into what it was, but um, if you have any questions first before I go in there.
No, go ahead. And I may have missed it, Kevin, but ultimately, what was the problem? What
Yep.
was what it was you were experiencing that no one could determine?
Yeah, and so this is where people have to realize it's not that doctors don't care per se, is that they just don't know everything, and they tend to just believe that what they know is everything a lot of times, so they don't look into things that might be weird. So what really happened was that I had part of it was I have internal bulges in my thoracic spine, so that causes a bunch of neurologic issues and different things, especially because of like the heart rate, things like that, because of where the bulges are. But even on MRIs that was seen, they would say it's asymptomatic or whatever. But it's like, how do they know that? You don't know that. Clearly, I was having symptoms, so maybe there was something to that, but it was never looked into. And then also, I ended up finding, again, my background is I'm an intelligence, I was intelligence analyst at work in the Navy and with the government. So I used my analytical background during COVID, and I said, you know what, let me just take my MRIs. I don't know anything about reading MRIs, but I can do two things. I can look at one thing and look at another thing and say, is there something different about them? So I just started going through my own MRIs, and I found some stuff in my MRIs. Started using things like Reddit, others Ask Docs, like DOCS, doctors subreddit. Started getting on there. Found some stuff on Facebook. Found some other articles and stuff, medical journals, and I figured out that I had what's called um, a mild Chiari malformation, and then I also had what's called a PANS, which is like a soft tissue overgrowth around the C2 vertebrae up in the top of the spine. Then I found an article through Facebook that suggested that having those two things in conjunction meant there's cervical instability. So I ended up finding a doctor in Colorado to diagnose that officially. So what it was is a cranial cervical instability, CCI, which is basically the ligaments that hold the skull onto the neck were unstable. So every time I'd move my neck, basically, or my head, really, I was effectively crushing my brainstem and my spine. So that's why I had so many different and disparate issues, especially neurological, because I was hitting the top of the nerve, stem. So it was going to be disparate, but people didn't look into that. So that's what ended up happening. I found this doctor in Colorado, Dr. Chris Centeno, does stem cell therapy specifically for that program. He invented his own, or that issue. He invented his own procedure to address it. And I went got some treatments through him and dramatically changed my life based off that. Now, the recovery road was also significantly hard, but that was a start.
I'm going to ask you if you would simplify this and in very elementary terms, but
Mhm.
was it as simple as a pinched nerve kind of thing? Is that an oversimplified explanation of what was symptomatically causing your problems?
Now, because my neck was unstable, every time I'd move it, it would rub against the brain stem basically, and also the spinal cord. So it was effectively just constantly, it's a constant rub on the nerves. The stuff in the thoracic is probably more closer to like a pinched nerve type of thing. Um, so when I especially if I do something with my elbows up above my kind of chest area, that really compresses internally. So I kind of, if I do a lot of stuff, even still, if I do a lot of stuff with my elbows up, I'll start having some kind of the chest issue. So my ribs will start popping out, things like that. Um, that's kind of what ends up happening because things aren't where they're supposed to be. Things that shouldn't be getting touched are getting touched. It just causes all these kind of like latent issues. Um, and the more I would do it, because at the time I was coaching baseball too, so I was doing a lot of rotational type of things. So then I was actually just hitting it more and more and more, which is why it progressed so fast at that time. So.
As you think back on, and I'm a cause and effect kind of person,
Mhm.
but were you born the way you are, or is it something that just happened? I'm always interested in knowing if there is a cause, if you can even determine that.
I don't know that I was necessarily born with that condition per se, but I was a pretty a typical boy, we'll say. I did a lot of stupid things as a kid, so I was very I'll say accident prone. I mean, I put myself in positions where it was an accident was inevitable a lot. Did a lot of BMX style, like, stuff like on my bike. I would do a lot of trick stuff with my bike. Jumped off literally anything, houses and slides or whatever. Um, yeah, so I did a lot of things that were, put a lot of sports too. So, I probably just, through time did just the damage overall. Plus having psoriasis, um, which turned into psoriatic arthritis, which I forgot to mention that, also causes ligament and tendon damage that you just don't know about. So, and then the GERD medications, and then also the sinusitis, why that was important because of the medication they're giving me for that. There's a antibiotic that also causes ligament and tendon damage potentially, and I was on that for a while, for quite a while actually. So all of those things kind of added up to just kind of really just give me that mixing bowl of this is the time it's going to start showing.
Are you an advocate of homeopathic methods of putting the body back to normal?
Yeah, so I used to think that psoriasis was it was just a really bad thing. I didn't like it, but now it's like a really good indicator for me. I know when I eat something that my body doesn't like because my psoriasis will start acting up. So it's largely under control right now, strictly because of what I eat. So yeah, I think homeopathic type of stuff, which is, really largely based in diet, nutrition, more natural things going into your body and on your body, um, significantly has helped me for sure.
I want our listeners to understand, and particularly any of those in the medical career field, I am not against medications. I'm not against that, but my life experience, and I, in
Mm.
some way, am the antithesis of a medical profession. But it seems in some cases, the medical profession will try to throw medications at it with the hope that maybe some medication will work, and in some cases it requires what seems to be in your case, Kevin. You're just going to take it on yourself to study to see if you can determine what is. And we've talked to several people who have on their own determined a homeopathic method through nutrition and so forth
Yeah.
to learn to live with what they have. Now, what I'm processing you're saying, and tell me if I'm wrong. You still have a psoriasis of some sort, but you've learned to live with that and manage it, so to speak. Am I processing correctly what you're saying?
Yeah, so none of those problems are necessarily they don't resolve per se, right? So like you can control them and make them feel like they're going away, but I can very quickly get them to come back. So I don't take any medications at all now. I was able to stop using GERD medication because again, changing diet. But when I eat something that it doesn't settle well, it comes back really strong. Like it comes back very fast. So again, psoriasis, like my psoriasis is under control largely. But as soon as I eat go a couple of days doing things that I shouldn't, in terms of my diet, like it comes back really, really bad, and it'll hurt, be painful, things like that. Same thing with like the psoriatic arthritis. My joints will start hurting really bad if I go like a couple days eating, a bunch of like processed, really just a standard American diet. If I get away from doing the things that I do, like my joints will start hurting so bad that it's like, hard to move really. So yeah, I mean, I can keep them at bay and make it seem like they're not there, but I immediately know. That's why I don't really go out to eat very much anymore because just the restaurants and stuff, they use all kinds of different things that we don't really know about per se, but my body figures it out really fast.
You just answered my question because I was going to ask you just how painful it is. It's the pain that comes up when you eat the wrong thing and it affects your joints and stuff. So you just
Yeah.
really answered what
Yeah.
I was getting ready to ask you about.
Yeah, it's very
So,
painful.
so through a period of trial and error, if that's how I'm interpreting what you're saying. You've learned what to eat, what not to eat, how to control your body to where you can let's say you know the onset of various pain and so forth. You just know how to control and live your body, live your life. Is that somewhat of an oversimplified way to explain how you cope with life, Kevin?
Yeah, I stopped listening to people that they have a title and call themselves experts, and I just started listening to what is the expert, and that's my body, right? So your body will tell you if you're doing something it doesn't want. It's very simple. Like your body is meant to survive. So if you're doing something that's not going to help it survive, it'll just give you that warning sign. We just tend to ignore it. I just stopped ignoring it because I stopped listening to people who had a title and said, hey, my body knows what's best. I've proven it time and time again that you're not correct. Even if that may be, general advice from some people, it's not correct for my body. So I'm going to listen to what my body's telling me, and I just go that route.
In hindsight, how long would you estimate it took you to determine what your body needs, doesn't need, and have your body in a balance? I don't know that again I'm using the right terms, but how long how long would you tell our listeners it took you to be able to put all this together to where you understood your body?
Um, it probably took a couple years, but that was largely because I was kind of doing it on my own. I didn't necessarily have a lot of help with it. Um, Plus, I was in such a bad place in terms of medically that it was hard. There was a lot of things I had to overcome and kind of like fix in the meantime. So it's hard to tell if I would have known faster if some of those other things weren't there, right? So because of the severe degradation of my body that I had with the neurological issues, I don't know that I would have not seen better progress faster with the food choices if those things weren't there to begin with, right? So like once those things kind of cleaned up also, I can tell really fast now with when I make dietary changes.
But it was a couple of years, would you say, that took you to kind of determine what to do or how to regulate your body to be able to do what you want to do?
Yeah, so I would, and part of that too is like it takes a couple weeks for your body to really adjust. So when you're making adjustments, also I personally don't believe cold turkey on anything works. I think you need to make small incremental changes to sustain over time, and then adjust from there. So a part of it would also just be that, where it's like you just have to give it time to see if that's actually working, and be able to kind of like play with it, so to speak, to see what little things come up or don't come up, you know.
And that's the important part, Kevin. I was trying to get from you that there's nothing that is virtually instantaneous. The body
Right.
reacts to it, adjusts to it, but it could take several weeks, months
Yeah.
to for the body to adjust. So what I'm learning from you is that you had a reasoned approach to try different things that you have reason to believe whatever would work, but
Hmm.
it could take several weeks, maybe even several months of making modifications to your nutrition to determine if what you're doing is having the right effect. Am I processing what you're saying correctly?
Yeah. Some of that too is like taste, things like that, right? So like every 14 days, all your taste buds die out and come back, right? They grow back. So it'll take a couple weeks for you to adjust to flavors and things like that too. So some of it's just a mentality thing. Once you kind of figure that part out, and then it's just like a bunch of small things, right? So it's like all of a sudden, like my left foot will stop hurting, right? Like just weird things like that. So it takes a while because you actually have to really pay attention to like these little like, details that your body's giving you these little weird signals that don't make any sense. But it's not supposed to make sense. You're just supposed to take the information and make adjustments, right? So yeah, it just takes a little bit of time for your body to really recognize that and then give you that signal and that you like really start to feel it. And sometimes that means you got to take it away and then put it back to have it come back on to go, oh my God, I didn't realize I was not even hurting anymore because now it is hurting, right? And then you can make the adjustment again. So yeah, it's a lot of just trial and error. So yeah, it just takes some time.
What did you do to figure out what to eat so that you wouldn't have a flare up?
So for I was 240 plus pounds at the time, so I was severely overweight, not muscular at all. And I started first with just portion control. There's this concept I heard that was supposedly, from Japan that, eat until you're no longer hungry, not until you're full. So I started just adjusting to that first, lost a bunch of weight, and then I started, kind of some will say the fad diets, but there's this guy, Dr. Stephen Gundry, it's called the plant paradox that he uses. I started with that, which kind of got helped with some of the psoriasis stuff. And then I tried the, carnivore diet and intermittent fasting, things like that, just to try them out, just to see. Really, what all those things are at the end of the day, though, are there's elimination diets. So ultimately, it's just eliminating things and just kind of going back, and then ultimately, I looked at that and go, you know what? The similarities between all of these things are just like eating real, natural, whole foods, right? Like, and that's really what I started looking at. It's like, it doesn't really make sense to eat those processed foods. So I started eating a lot. I eat a lot of red meat and beef, and eggs and butter, and then I mill my own bread now. or my own wheat to make my own bread, things like that. But ultimately, I just started just eating real foods first, and that was a dramatic difference. And then slowly over time, I've just kind of molded it to just like, you know what, I don't, I need to change my diet every day. I just basically eat the same thing every single day. But that took a while to just get used to that. Because again, that's just a mentality thing because we're told our entire lives that you need variety, you need this, you need that. And it's like, you don't though. Like no animal in the world has variety. They just eat what's natural to them and they eat it every single day. So it's just a mentality thing. So that was a bigger component, I think. But really, like to answer your question, was it just started with just eating less and then just eating just real food.
I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, and by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level to where we soar together. Let's work together. Well, the listener who might be experiencing something very similar to what you're experiencing, would there be, Kevin, would your recommendation be get a nutritional analysis? They have biological blood sampling, something? Is there, how would a person get started and maybe reduce the amount of time it took for you to get your life in balance to where they could maybe have a more focused approach on what they need to do?
Uh, that's probably a hard question to answer because people won't necessarily like me to answer. I personally, I've heard a lot of nutritionists talk online. Again, it's not all of them, but I've heard a lot of them. And if I ate the way they suggested, and follow that advice, I would be in pain 24/7. So I would just kind of literally forget. Like the way I look at it is I say, if I was thrown into the middle of the jungle and I had no idea about science or anything like that, or medicine, whatever, what would I naturally gravitate towards? And then I start there, right? So it's like, if I wouldn't just go find some random plant, would I eat that? No, probably not, right? I would hunt for some animal first and start there. So fish, meat, things like that, I would start with that. So, and the less that you have to process things, the better, in my opinion. Um, but that's just the way I approach it now. But I would again start with just getting rid of as many processed foods as possible. Um, I personally don't I like seed oils and things like that. When you look and see how they're made, um, and the fact that they've only been used for, the last 100 years, when all the chronic diseases and issues have gone up, it seems to really be pretty obvious that you should be avoiding those, right? So, um, I would start with that first. Just again, getting rid of processed foods, getting things that are real whole. Start thinking about what would your great grandparents have eaten, like what would somebody eaten 300 years ago, and start there because they didn't die because of lack of nutrition, or these chronic diseases. They died because of wars, famines, things like that. We don't necessarily have those issues at this point. Um, Medicine's really good at like the acute diseases, right? Like something that comes up really fast, like something like keeping you healthy from the flu, per se, things like that, which is things that used to kill people quickly, younger at that time, not the food.
Do you feel like you have full knowledge of what your body needs and so forth, that it's taken you a little while to determine and adjust? But do you feel like is every day still a learning experience, or do you feel like you're kind of 99% there? You know what your body needs, and you know what could flare up type thing.
Yeah, I'm like pretty much 99%, not even probably 100%. Like it's pretty, again, I have, because of the psoriasis, it's pretty clear, pretty obvious really fast when that starts acting up again, that I've just consumed something that I shouldn't. So I have a very limited uh thing, set that I go by. And then I just, work from there.
Let me ask you about sleep. Are you an advocate of definitely 8 hours sleep? Is that a part of nutrition as well?
Yeah, I mean, I notice I say 8 hours. I think most people would kind of intuitively know if they've got enough sleep. So it's like some people can probably get away with 6 to 8 hours, 6 to 7 hours, 4 hours even, potentially. Especially especially on like a limited basis. Like if I have to do it like once or twice, most people can deal with it. But if it's a regular thing, I think that becomes a hassle. But I think you have to be realistic, right? So like if you're constantly needing some stimulant to keep you awake and energized, things like that, like you're probably not getting enough sleep. You're not getting the right nutrition, things like that. So if you constantly need, I don't take anything. Like I drink coffee, but I don't drink coffee to energize me. Like it actually, I don't actually get energized from coffee. I can drink coffee and then go to bed and it can 20 minutes later. Like it doesn't, caffeine has no effect on me like that. Um, so I don't use any kind of stimulants or anything that wake me up, so to speak. But if you need that, I would say you're probably either not getting enough sleep or you're getting the wrong nutrition, right, or both. So I would look at that, like, and the reality is it would be a very inefficient system for our bodies to require that. So if you're requiring that for your daily practices, you're doing something wrong. And I would start with sleep and nutrition. Those are the two biggest things that give you your energy. So.
Because you mentioned energy, I'm just curious. Are you an advocate of energy drinks in general? Do you stay away from it, or just what's
No,
your thought on that?
I've actually never consumed an energy drink. I've never bought into that. Again, most of the compounds in that is caffeine, and caffeine doesn't wake me up anyway, so it was never really a thing for me. But again, as I just stated, like if that's something you're requiring to be able to have energy, you're eating something wrong, or you're sleeping wrong, or both. So
Okay.
you shouldn't really need it. Again, it would be an inefficient a biological process if we require that to be able to be super efficient and functional and survive, right? It would not make sense biologically for our bodies to require that if we're doing everything we're supposed to be in terms of keeping our body, efficient anyway.
Let me maybe bring this into a closure by asking you the term you became after you learned your body and you learned how to adjust and so forth. You became a Spartan athlete. What
Mhm.
is the term Spartan athlete?
The Spartan's a an obstacle course race series. So that's why it came from, the Spartan races. So it's usually over some like in a mountainous area, with just a bunch of different obstacles to go through, and during the race. And I started doing those. Part of it was one of the programs I did, a heroic coaching program. One the final um, One of the final things in the steps in that was to complete a Spartan obstacle course race, and so I did it. I did well. I couldn't do the first one. I tried the first one. I was going to try. My body shut down on me the night before, and I just couldn't get to it. So then I was just determined from that point on to get to one. So I continued to rehab and get my treatments and stuff, and ended up doing my first one in September of 23, I think. Um, And last year, I think I did 12, and then this year I did 15. So, um, yeah, to me, it's a challenge to do. It's difficult. And it's just something that just continues to show me that, to humble me, I guess.
Well, Kevin, congratulations on what you have overcome through life, but through your life experience, you're now coaching people, working with people who may be experiencing something similar to what you have overcome. Is that true?
Yeah.
And how would how would a listener contact you and have you coach them through whatever they're experiencing?
Yeah, so you can email me at Kevin at fromthestruggle.com, or just at Coach Kevin Brewer on Instagram. That's a really easy place. A lot of people have Instagram, so it's the easiest one to find me on. So you can message me on there.
All right. Well, Kevin, congratulations on your life experience. I say frequently, as our past does not define us, but it certainly can inspire us to become who we are now in the future. So, congratulations to you that you had the wherewithal, the resilience to overcome, learn through, and passing your learning to other people. So, congratulations and thank you for passing forward everything about your life experience.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, Marty, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.